This video will be very challenging for your ego and very soothing for your soul. You'll find this video when you are just about to have a breakthrough where your heart is expanding in truth and your ego is surrendering to what it cannot control. And this is when you find this video. This is when you are in this battle and conflict between your soul and your ego. Because the truth is, the biggest culprit in terms of growing in spirituality, growing in your divine essence, is the ego. And spiritual ego is the worst when it comes to the growth. So when you are moving towards, when you are making decisions, when you are choosing your higher self, when you are moving towards your higher self, your soul already knows, your soul already know where it is going. What stops most people is they start rationalizing, they start getting into their head, and that becomes the culprit to choosing the soul self, higher self, and choosing the old self, the past self. And that becomes the issue when we are about to have a breakthrough, when we are about to experience shift, but when the ego becomes bigger because ego wants you to not go towards the unknown. I've noticed with spiritual beings who are carrying spiritual egos, they struggle the most because the spiritual ego is that I know a lot, right? That's the ego. When the ego says, I know a lot, I've done a lot, I've done the inner work, I've done the healing, I know everything, right? And when we say that I know everything, I have this understanding of spirituality, consciousness, healing, and I have full understanding of divine, God, light, then those people get into this idea because they know a lot, they don't need to do a lot. They don't need to embody. They don't need to integrate. And that becomes the culprit to transformation. That becomes the culprit to who they meant to be. Because it's not about knowing a lot. It's not about getting more knowledge about different ways of spirituality or different ideas of spirituality. And they are all different type of people who follow different type of spirituality. Some people follow Akashic records. Some people do psychic reading. Some people do astrology. Some people do ceremonies. Some people do tantric dance or yoga, and they call that spirituality. Those are all the things, all the tools that are there. But that does not mean that they understand the essence of spirituality. That doesn't mean they get the essence, because the spirituality itself is very simple. It's simple because it's just about connecting to divine. It's just about having that deep connection with divine. That's all spirituality is. We can use different tools to get there, but ultimately it is just that connection. And why some people do not experience the breakthrough, why they cannot leave the survival mode, why they get stuck in survival mode, why they have the blocks, is because they think that they know. Therefore, they don't integrate, they don't do, they don't embody. And when we operate from I know more than you, I have more understanding than you, I am better than you, that's a trap. That is a trap that stops the breakthrough. That is a trap that puts those people towards ego, towards judgment, towards pride. And when we get into pride and judgment, the consciousness of that is lower consciousness, and that becomes a trap. That becomes, those people are very intelligent and they know a lot. So they have the ability to grow. They have the ability to have and experience the life that they desire, but because their own ego, their own intelligence become the biggest issue for their breakthrough. But you are not that. You are here because you know that there is so much more for you. You know that you meant for more, and you listen to your soul, your intuition, rather than the ego, rather than knowing that I know a lot, therefore I don't need help. I know a lot, therefore I don't need healing. I've done the healing, therefore I don't need to do anything. But if you are still stuck, if you are still not experiencing the breakthrough, if you are still are in survival, then you know that that is not the way to have a breakthrough. Having the knowledge is not the way to have a breakthrough. The way you have a breakthrough is when you surrender to divine, to faith. That's when you experience the breakthrough. You do not experience a breakthrough by having a lot of knowledge. Nobody has been able to intelligently, through their mind, have been able to have a breakthrough, because breakthrough doesn't come from here. Breakthrough comes from your body, from your nervous system, from your root. That's when you move the energy. That's when you shift the energy. That's when you rise into your divine self. So how are you going to know that you are going to experience breakthrough? Is when you are experiencing this conflict louder and louder, bigger and bigger, where the conflict becomes bigger, where ego is rising, and where your higher self is calling, inviting that come here. And it's a very quiet voice. It's a whisper. It's an intuition. It's slow. It's gentle. It's not loud. It's gentle. Where the ego is louder, where ego is screaming, where ego is saying, no, don't do that. It's scary. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not lose yourself. The ego is screams, where soul just whispers, where it's quietly saying, come here. It's quietly saying, do this. It's quietly saying that move here. And those quiet whispers are the sign that you need to listen, you need to hear, you need to pay attention. Because your true essence wants to be loved and evolved and abundant and free. That is the desire. That is the purpose, to feel that freedom, to feel that ease, to feel that balance and peace, so that you are in this alchemized space where things are moving for you with ease, where you are bending reality, where you're shifting timelines, and you're moving into your highest timelines. And that becomes so easy when the loud noise of the ego stops, when the past self stops screaming, when it only stops screaming when you stop listening, when you stop paying attention, when you can remove the focus. If you start fighting and defending your ego or your intelligence, that's when you know that you are not moving towards the breakthrough. You are not moving towards your soul, your higher self. You're moving towards the past. You're moving towards the ego. You're moving towards the pride. And that can kind of shift the direction, because ultimately you have the choice. Ultimately, you are the one who decide whether you either experience a breakthrough or you allow ego to control you. Because ego operates from fear, ego operates from control. So when we give into the ego that I'm going to feel safe by not following my highest calling, not doing what I feel that I meant to do, I'm going to close my eyes and I don't need to heal anything. I'm just going to stay in this space that I am in. I'm going to stay stuck in survival because I'm afraid and I don't want to leave this safety even though it's so painful. Then you are going to conform to your ego and the breakthrough will not happen. But when you listen to the whispers and even the noise getting louder, you're still paying attention to this. You're still moving towards this, and you're still listening. Slow, gentle whispers that are calling you, that are telling you, come this side, do this, and move here. And when you start listening, when you start paying attention, your ego will stop getting louder. Your ego will know that it has no control. An ego knows, even though you've done a lot of work, even though you have a lot of knowledge, but you know deeply, you never allowed yourself to be seen fully. You never allowed yourself to be heard fully. And your soul wants you to go there. I'll give you an example. I had the biggest fear for speaking on stage. The biggest fear, because I had a really bad experience when I was 14-year-old in school. I participated in a beauty contest and I made a fool of myself. There were around 1,000 people in my school and I was on stage and they all laughed because I said something as a 14-year-old that I don't even remember now, but I remember clearly, vividly, they all laughed at me. And that became like a huge thing for me that I feel like I belong on stage. I feel like I meant to speak, and that's where my gift is, that I need to speak. But I kept myself so small because of that fear. And that fear carried on since I was 14 to many, many, many years. And I was so afraid. Even in the meeting, I would not stand up at work when I was working for corporates. I would not stand up and speak because of that memory was so vivid. That memory was strong. But my intuition, my soul was whispering, you meant to go on stage. You meant to go on stage. You meant to go on stage. You meant to speak. You meant to speak. And when I did, when I stood up on stage, when I spoke for a keynote speaking, it felt like everything dissolved and I experienced the most beautiful breakthrough, because all that fear that was built since I was 14, it just all collapsed. Because that fear was an illusion that was stopping me, that I am not going to speak because what if people will laugh at me? What if I make fool of myself? What if something goes wrong? But when I spoke as an adult, as a spiritual healer, as a keynote speaker, I was in a different identity. I was speaking from my truth. I was speaking from the state of higher frequency, and no one judged. No one laughed and no one said anything bad. And the feedback was that how calm you were. Like you were speaking so calmly, like you've done this for years. But the truth is, I've never done that before. So I experienced breakthrough then when I kept listening and following my soul, even though the fear was coming, even though ego was getting louder, that don't do this. But I did it because I was listening to my intuition, my soul. I was listening to the whisper. And as soon as I did it, the whole thing collapsed. It collapsed completely and the fear was gone. It did not exist. Ego became quiet. That is one of the way how your soul, your intuition whispers, even though we feel the fear, but we keep moving towards where we need to go. We keep moving towards where we are, because the fear itself is an illusion. The illusion that becomes so big the longer we take. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. But ultimately, when you know your soul, when you know that this is where I'm being called to, this is what I'm going to do, even though this is getting louder, I'm going to just not pay attention and I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep going one step at a time. I'm going to keep moving forward. And that's when you experience the breakthrough and everything collapses. You bend reality, you collapse time, you shift into a new frequency, new vibration, and then you cannot go back. Then that fear can never come back to you, because now you're in a different state of being. And that's how you shift. That's how you experience the breakthrough. And this is your time to experience the breakthrough. And I feel it in my bone. October is a very interesting month where you are rising into your truth. You are rising into your light. You are becoming a butterfly that you always wanted. You are ready to get out of the cocoon that you've been in, so that you own your truth, your light, embody your truth. And this is why I talked about the spiritual ego, because we don't want to be just knowledgeable and have a lot of knowledge of being spiritual and having higher consciousness and awareness of quantum physics and awareness of consciousness. We want to embody, we want to integrate, we want to move from that. And when we move from that, that's when the breakthrough happens. That's when we own our truth. Like I said, this month is going to push you towards your breakthrough, and you are already probably feeling that you are ready for it. Things are collapsing, you are letting go of things, and you are moving, and it may get harder and things might be getting louder, but that doesn't matter, because your focus needs to be on the whisper, on the silence whisper, and the silent intuition that is coming through, that gentle voice that is coming through. And that gentle voice will lead you towards your biggest breakthrough, your biggest transformation, your biggest transformation, not only from inside, from the emotional side, but also financially, also freeing, also liberating. And that is going to happen if you keep listening to your soul, your whisper. And if you would like to really truly embody, if you want to shift your identity, if you want to operate in a frequency of wealth and abundance where you quit what is not serving you and move into your soul calling, your soul path, so that you get paid to exist for your energy, for your frequency, for your being. And if you are ready for that, then I will invite you to apply for my mentoring by clicking the link below, because the Divine Academy that I've started a few months ago is all about activating and embodying your highest self, your highest identity, so that the abundance, wealth, love all becomes easier and you experience the breakthrough after breakthrough. So if you're ready for it, click the link below to apply for my mentoring. Other than that, like this video if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel. And may the light in me reaches the light in you.